Here at the Pitching Academy, we know our audience. Most of the people that buy our DVDs are coaches and parents. And I know at times it can be very overwhelming to teach youth athletes how to throw a baseball correctly or how to hit the baseball. Okay? So, again, we understand that it can be difficult. So we're creating this DVD to ensure that you understand not every single movement, but the main mechanical flaws of most pitchers and most hitters, and how to correct those main flaws to make your athletes more successful. We know we can't do it all, we can't be everywhere, and there are a lot of great pitching instructors out there. However, there are thousands and thousands of athletes, so we figure if we can teach people how to teach youth athletes, we've just done a big job. So what we're going to do is try to teach you how to simplify a science project, because it really is throwing a baseball and hitting a baseball. You can make a big science project out of it. You can make it as complex as you want to make it, because it can be very complex. There's a lot to throw in a baseball, okay? But what we want to help you understand is that in order to teach it to a youth athlete, it has to be simplified. That's why we have simplifiedpitching.com. You simplify the process, make it very basic so that the principles can be applied immediately on the field. Okay, over the years, we've seen a lot of people try to teach pitching mechanics and hitting mechanics to youth athletes, and we get frustrated at times because there are little different teaching philosophies out there, but that's not the problem. The problem is most coaches and parents, they need to learn how to be patient. In fact, if we could teach a principle, the very first principle, that's why we're talking about it right now, is to be patient with youth athletes as they learn mechanics. If you think about taking a 10-year-old, teaching them how to throw the baseball correctly, they've really been throwing a ball or rocks or something, a tennis ball, since they were 2 years old. So obviously they've developed bad habits. Once you learn these pitching mechanics from these tapes and you're trying to teach a youth athlete, just make sure that you're very patient with them. It takes a very long time, months, even years sometimes, to make these throwing mechanics part of the muscle memory. So we just ask you to be as patient as possible as you're teaching these concepts. Now, one thing that you need to understand as you're teaching mechanics is most players are visual learners. Even if they're not visual learners, they need to understand how to do things the right way. So you're going to either have to demonstrate the proper mechanics, demonstrate the proper ways, which a lot of coaches do anyway, or you're going to have to show them videos. You're going to have to model. They call this modeling. You're going to have to show them how to do things. So something like this, showing them how to get into the right equal and opposite position, you're going to have to show them how to do that properly, the way that they do it. So if they bring their arm down here, you bring your arm down here. Model how to do that. Get behind them and demonstrate how they need to bring their thumbs down and how they need to lift in that proper position over time. So showing them how to do that time and time again is going to help them. I would also show them video of professional athletes. Find pitchers that most pitchers get in a great equal and opposite position. Show them a variety of pitchers. I usually go with the pitchers that have been in the big leagues for over 10 years. You'll notice some pitchers in their rookie season, the difference between their mechanics and their rookie season are a little bit different when they're throwing 10, 20 years down the road. I like showing pictures of Curt Schilling, Nolan Ryan, Greg Maddux, those types of people. So it's called modeling. Get used to it. Another principle of teaching pitching mechanics, or really teaching anything, is not assuming that the athlete or the player understands what you just explained to them. So what I like to do after I teach a principle is ask them very simple questions and get feedback from them. So what you'll want to do, once you teach a principle like hip rotation, just say, okay, what do you understand hip rotation to be? Why do you want to do this? Why is it important to understand? And then what I'll do is I'll have them teach me what I just taught them. So they call that mirroring. You want to make sure that they understand every principle that was taught. So asking questions time and time again, and just having them reteach what you taught, and then have them show you what you mean. That's really important when teaching mechanics. Another thing I wanted to mention today is every athlete learns in sequences. Every time you teach something, teach them in a sequence. Here's what I mean. It's really A, B, and C, or 1, 2, and 3. Simplify pitching in a way that they're going to understand it and remember it. It takes a lot of time. Sometimes the sequences are taught 1 month at a time. Here's what I mean. First of all, if you go back to the Pitching Mechanics DVD, take a look at it, you'll see 3 things that help you increase pitching velocity. The first one that I talked about today was using this leg as a leveraging tool to propel yourself forward. That's what I teach them first, okay, so that they understand what it feels like to throw like that. So every time they pick up a baseball, they're using that leg as a leveraging tool to propel themselves forward. Now, sometimes I will go 3 or 4 lessons just helping them understand that principle as far as using their lower extremities. Obviously, we work on other things like pitching grips and other mechanics, but I'm talking about these 3. Using this leg as leverage, pushing off the ball of that back foot, and also learning that early delayed shoulder rotation. If you teach all 3 of those at the same time, they're going to become confused and they're going to forget how to use their front leg as a leveraging tool. So sometimes it's really important that you teach one principle and you're patient enough until they understand that fully, and then move on to the second principle. The second principle in this case is pushing off the ball of the back foot and leveraging their leg to get that leverage at the same time. So you work on those 2 at the same time for, let's just say, another month until they understand how to feel how to throw that way. And then you're going to add, maybe a month later, that early delayed shoulder rotation with those 3. So first, now they have to explode the foot strike, throwing that leg out, pushing off the ball of their back foot, and rotating their hips all the way, all at once. So everybody's taught in sequences. Again, everybody needs to understand why they're doing something so that they understand those principles being taught. Now, as you're teaching youth athletes how to pitch a baseball, it's really important that you teach them in sequences. They love to be taught in sequence. Now, throwing a baseball is a feet to fingertip exercise. So normally, about 95% of the time, you're going to teach students from their feet to their fingertips, meaning you're going to start with their posture first, then with their legs, then with that hip rotation, then you're going to talk about delayed shoulder rotation all the way up to release of the baseball. Unless there is a specific flaw that can be taken care of quickly. For example, if they have an arm slot issue where they're pushing the baseball, you're going to want to address that first, because regardless of what their feet are doing, they're still pushing the baseball. So you've got to watch their entire body, watch about 15 or 20 throws first. If you're not experienced, if you're experienced, you're probably going to watch a handful of throws, and you're going to know right away what they need to be taken care of. Okay? But typically it's a feet to fingertip exercise, of course, so you're going to work on their feet positioning first.